Hakadosh Boker or Bekiim Bahalacha 4, day 47, page 119, Siman Kav Zayin. This is Siman 27, Halacha Bet. Makom Anachat tefilin Shel Yad. Where do you place the tefilin Shel Yad? So I'm going to read. The proper place of putting the tefilin Shel Yad is on the upper arm, on the bulge of the biceps muscle. Meaning when you come and you make a muscle, it has to be on the muscle. It cannot be below the muscle. If it's below the muscle, it's too low. One second. We're going to see where's it going to be facing. The biceps is a two-headed muscle separated into two parts on both its upper and lower ends. The proper place of the tefillin is the central portion of the muscle where both heads are joined into one mass. The tefillin bite, including all of its parts other than the strap, must be resting on the biceps muscle, but it also must be in the lower half of the upper arm. That is, the tefillin must be placed closer to the elbow than to the shoulder. Right? Obviously, when it's lower down, it's towards the elbow. It's not going to be up here. This is the shoulder. It's not going to be towards the shoulder. It's going to be towards the elbow. No part of the tefillin bite may rest on the higher half of the upper arm. And at the same rate, great care must be taken to ensure that no part of the tefillin bite is resting on the arm below the bulge of the biceps muscle, where the two heads of the muscles are separate. The general rule is to place the tefillin at least 2 finger breadths, right, which is 4 centimeters above the inside of the elbow. It is important to fasten the tefillin tightly on the arm so it does not slip down from the correct position to the arm's movements while wearing the tefillin. Okay, so let's start. 120, Talmudic sources. Our sages taught, this is the Gemara Masechet Menachot, Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. The Torah's term of yad regarding tefillin means the muscular bulge on the upper arm. This is how Tosafot and the Rosh interpreted the Talmud's words. The Talmud then proves this is the intent of the pasuk in 3 ways. Number 1, the Torah specifies on the arm, meaning on the place where the arm bulges upward. The Talmud warns us not to entertain the thought that the Torah wishes to place the tefillin on the hand and not on the arm. The Torah gives 2 commandments together: put on tefillin on your arm and on your head. Just like the tefillin on the head is on top of the head, so too the tefillin Shel Yad is on top of the hand. It's not on the hand. You're going to say maybe on your hand, so maybe you should put the tefillin here, take the tefillin box, put it here. No, he says just like on the rosh is on top of the head, right? So too on the arm, it's on top, and on the hand, it's on top of the hand. Rabbi Eliezer concurred with this. It is much simpler than that. The Torah says tefillin Shel Yad shall be a sign for you, meaning it's placed where only the person wearing it is aware of it, but it's not visible to others. If the tefillin were placed on the hands, everybody would see it. Meaning if you put here the box of tefillin, everyone could see it. You put it here, you can't always see it because it's going to be hidden only for you. Yitzchak suggested another proof. The Torah states, place my words on your hearts. Right? He says, and tie them onto your arms. This means that the tefillin which contain the scrolls shall be placed near the heart. So where's near the heart? Well, you said, put it over here, inclined towards the heart. Based on all this, the Rambam says, no, we're going to speak about the lefty in a minute. So he says, based upon this, the Rambam states that tefillin Shel Yad, right, must be fastened on one's left arm, right, which is going to be on the biceps, which meaning the bulge. The Bet Yosef cited the Talmud, stating that tefillin Shel Yad must be placed on the high part of the arm. So explain that this means the term yad regarding to means the muscular bulge. The other Rishonim, however, interpreted it as the flexor muscles on the forearm. In fact, the Sefer Terumah testified that this was a practice in some communities, but the Rabbeinu Tam opposed it and insisted it has to be on the biceps. Rabbeinu Tam noted that our sages often mention that tefillin are placed on the zroa, right? This means the upper arm, or more the humerus bone. The Talmud's term for this is called the kaneh. He demonstrated several Talmudic proofs for this interpretation. The Rambam agreed to Rabbeinu Tam, and he said that zroa is the forearm, and the term marpek is for the upper arm. The Bet Yosef, this is now the part that you basically have to have it on the biceps. He says, brings down 7 mitzvot katan, ruling that tefillin Shel Yad must be placed on the bulge of the muscle, right? The Hagaot, 7 mitzvot katan, authored by Rabbeinu Peretz, also qualify this ruling, explaining the name of the Shimush Rabbah, that the tefillin can only be placed on the half of the upper arm close to the elbow. In the Bedek Habayit, Maran emphasized that we may not deduce from this that tefillin may be placed on the lower part of the arm, right? We still have to follow the Rambam. That has to be on the biceps. This means that there are 2 limitations, right, defining the proper place of the upper tefillin, right, on the upper arm of the tefillin. It must be placed on the half of the upper arm, closer to the elbow, but it also must be placed on the bulge of the biceps. It cannot be placed on the bulge below the biceps. The wording to the Bedek Habayit suggests that Manan Rabbeinu Peretz ruled that you can do it. right? However, though, in the commentary to Eruvin, Rabbeinu Peretz himself actually says that you cannot put it, right? So it means basically you're splitting up the arm into two. So this is going to be called the upper arm. So it has to be on this half of the upper arm. Plus, it cannot be here. It has to be on the biceps. So he says the Shulchan Aruch Maran ruled that the tefilin Shel Yad must be placed on the bulge of the biceps, but he did not specify that it should be on the upper half of the arm. So if someone has an injury on the spot of the arm where he usually places tefillin, it can still fulfill the mitzvah since there's enough room on the arm to put two tefillin batim. Okay, so you see as it appears from this that the tefillin Shel Yad may be placed anywhere on the lower half of the upper arm. So if we combine his words in 27.1 with these words, however, it turns out both intentions are placed. Just as Maran ruled in Betekbai, meaning that even though Maran only brings down one halacha, this is in Siman Kav Zayin Siv Zayin, but in Siv Aleph, if you put them both together, it comes out both. So it has to be on this part of the arm, which is the lower half, but towards the elbow, right? It's the upper part of the arm, but this is the lower part of the arm. So this is the lower part of the upper part, in a sense. So this, you split this into half, this part, not this part. And then you have it on the biceps. Magen Avraham was not satisfied with this, because the plain reading of Shulchan Aruch is that tefillin Shel Yad shall be placed anywhere on the lower half, right? And then he says, in fact, the Mamar Mordechai said that that's clear what my Maran meant also. Magen Avraham attempted to reconcile Maran, explaining that he simply just cited the words of the Rabbeinu Peretz, but he himself also held that you need it also on the biceps. The Veshesra therefore explained to Magen Avraham that when Maran stated the one can take place of the tefillin anywhere to the elbow, he never meant to include the section of the arm below the bulge, right? The Pri Megadim of the Ephraim likewise also interpreted it this way as well. The Gaon Mivilna. So the Gaon Mivilna, he says, set a fourth position that the Talmud does not limit. He says the Talmud states that it must be on the bulge of the biceps muscle. The concept of validating only one half of the arm is based upon Shmush Rabba's term of Peleg Zroa. Although the plain translation of the term is half the arm, it could just be as translated as part of the arm, meaning anywhere along the section of the bulge of the biceps. Based on this, the Rav Eliyahu Mivilna ruled that the tefillin Shel may be placed anywhere along the bulge of the biceps, even if it is the half of the upper arm closer to the shoulder. Meaning when you come and you make the thing, this is the bulge. But when you get over here, this is still the bulge, but this bulge is already towards the upper part of the arm. According to the Galmavina, that's okay. Because once it's on the bulge, it doesn't matter whether it's going to be on the lower part or the upper part of the arm. That's the shita of the Galmavina. The Mishabra pointed out that many Rishonim, including the Rif and the Rambam, made no distinction between the higher and lower halves of the arm. It is difficult in this light to understand why Shulchan Aruch did say that, like the Samak. In practice, the Mishabra said in the Sefer Truma that it is defined the term of the bulge of the biceps to be part of the muscle closer to the elbow, which is directly across a person's heart. Apparently, none of the Rishonim disagree with this interpretation. There's a matter of defining the term. In fact, it could be that even the Galmavina, right, agreed with this, except that he believed that the bulge of the bicep continues until the upper part as well. Okay, so the Rishon Lezion pointed out that the Hechal concur with the Sefer Mitzvot Katan and Sefer Truma, but the Halacha Brura demonstrated that there's no clear proof of the opinions of the Hechal and Sefer Truma. The Mishabra recommended that people avoid wearing a tefillin, very large tefillin boxes, since it's very difficult, meaning that, sometimes they wear these huge boxes. He says it's very difficult to put them on the thing without putting it on the upper arm. The Rishon Lezion cited several Achronim, including the Shulchan Gavoa, Rav Zalman, and the Retzot Chaim, rule clearly that it should be on the lower part of the arm, and therefore if the boxes are too large, you should be very careful to put them in the proper place. What about the Ben Ish Chai? So the Ben Ish Chai warned that people should not place the tefillin lower than the bulge of the biceps muscle, and not on the higher half of the upper arm, even if it's on the bulge of the biceps. He added that he explained that the Mikabtziel, that we must not rely upon this poskim, the rule that it's permissible to place it on the higher part of the arm. Therefore, we must have our tefillin made quite small, so we could wear both tefillin of Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. Right? There's a Ben Ish Chai. Remember, Ben Ish Chai putting them both together. Okay, so he says, if that is not possible, however, so then you could rely upon the Gaon Mivilna. It is clear from this that Rav Yosef considered the opinion of the Gaon Mivilna to be valid, and then you could rely upon it when necessary. The Rishon Lezion, though, disagreed with this, and he says that the majority of the entire army of the Poskim, including the Shulchan Aruch, rejected the opinion of the Gaon Mivilna. Rav Meir Mazuz and in Netivot HaChaim justified the position of Ben Ish Chai. The Halacha Brura also refuted his arguments and highly recommended the Rishon Lezion. This likewise the position of the Or Lezion. Therefore, if someone cannot manage to put both of them on in the proper position, he should wear only tefillin Shel Rashi and then put on Rabbeinu Tam. Meaning, if you cannot put both of them on, that means you have to have them very small, obviously. If you cannot put both of them on, better just put one and not the other. What about, how do you measure your arm? So how does one measure the arm to properly determine how to put on the tefillin? Rav Shlomo Auerbach comes and he stated that the measurement must be along the inside of the arm. For example, is for someone who's 1.73 meters, that's 5'9". The distance from the top of the shoulder to the elbow is 30 centimeters. But the distance from the armpit to the elbow is only 26 centimeters. Meaning, if you do the outside, is longer than the inside, because in the inside, you start from here, you don't start from here. So it's lower. So he says the lower half of the upper arm would be 13 centimeters. Approximately 2/3 of the bulge of the biceps are within the range, meaning that the area designated for the tefillin Shel Yad is no more than 9 centimeters. This is because, explaining the halacha here, the tefillin must not be lying on the first 4 centimeters of the elbow, and this coincides with the instructions. So that's how you do it. So you measure from the inside till here, you drop the first 4 centimeters, and the rest is going to be what you're able to do. Then he says, this is the ruling, right, of the Tefillah Moshe. In the Piskei Teshuvot, he defined that the finger breadths in this context, as the width of each individual fingers. Okay, that we measure from the place of the bulge of the biceps where the arms are folded, and the muscle is flexed, not while the arm is extended. Okay, when you flex the muscle, when you actually, you do like this and you make a muscle, that's when you're going to do this. Okay.